layup. I made it this time.
Serena.
Coach, what is the mentality coming into a very confident team and an arena that they haven't lost at this season?
I mean, you obviously have a little bit of edge to you. Understanding the moment, understanding your opponent. We talk about, having empathy for our opponent, so understanding their mindset is always important, and being prepared for, whatever they may be ready to throw at you. This is obviously a very good basketball team, a versatile team, a great environment for basketball, so we have to be prepared for that.
Do you talk with the guys about embracing not only the challenge of what you just said, but the opportunity that you have, kind of the playoff type, you had a game today, and then obviously play them again in 2 days. Do you talk just embracing that?
Those are more conversations for the in-between. Tonight, we're prepared for tonight. And obviously coming off a back-to-back and being able to have a walkthrough this morning, you put in the focus on the job that you have at hand and what's in front of you. And, we'll talk about, the next game once we finish tonight and how we prepare and make adjustments and those types of things. But right now we're just focused on tonight and going out there competing our tails off and see what happens.
And then how have you seen the relationship between Darius and Tristan that they've had since Darius' rookie year kind of contribute to the synergy of those two?
I just think that, they're as different as they are, they're really like-minded in what matters to them. Tristan's ability to say things to Darius and Darius's ability to listen, because Tristan has been there, and it matters. It's like, big brother type of relationship, where, he seeks that information out. And in the moment, he listens in a different way because he has that respect for Tristan and what he's been through and knows what Tristan is about. And, Tristan just wants to help him. So there is no, that defense mechanism that might come up. There is none of that. So he takes everything he says to heart and tries to apply it.
Chris.
Hey, JB.
What's up, Chris?
Is Karras going to go tonight?
We'll see how he goes through his warm-ups.
Okay. And then there were 2 stretches last night against Orlando, one in the second quarter, one in the third quarter. Both lasted about 10 minutes where you scored just about 10 points. When you're in those kinds of offensive ruts, how do you get out of them?
You got to be more aggressive to the basket, I think. Try to create more layups, try to get some free throws. But I think as you see, and this, there is those ups and downs with shot making. But, can your defense sustain you? And then can your defense turn into some easy opportunities for you on the offensive end of the floor? Going back and watching it, even during those stretches, we got good shots. Now it's a matter of converting those, but you also have to be mindful of if that shot's not going, what's next? How do I continue to help the team? And always putting pressure on the rim is where it starts. And then if that leads to a rotational kick out, you take that open 3, or it gives you an opportunity to attack another closeout. So putting pressure on the paint is always the easy way.
And following up on Tristan, you've talked so much about the trust that you have in him already. But just big picture, what is it that makes him such a great fit with this group?
He's just a winner. And it's hard, again, numbers, whatever it may be, sometimes it's hard, for people to see that. But, he just does all the little things that long-term affect winning. His personality, the effort plays, the being in the right spot defensively, setting screens, all these small things that go unsung a lot of times. He just does, and he's just got a competitive spirit to him that you have to embrace. And I think that's the thing with, the guys respect that because they're trying to win and want to win, and they've got a guy who impacts winning and is not afraid of the moment. So it's easy for them to buy in to what he's doing and support him the best way they can.
Thank you.
Abby.
George Niang, the local kid. What did you guys see in him that really attracted you during the free agent process? And then what has he brought and something maybe you didn't know about him?
Obviously the shot making is something that we were looking for in the off season to help space the floor. But it was more about us doing our homework and talking to people who had worked with him and coached him before. And just his personality, that everybody said the same thing. The passion, how he impacts team, You know, his ability to lead because he's not afraid to be vocal. You know, he's got a chip to him. He's got an edge where he doesn't back down. You know, sometimes he looks to start stuff, you know, just to change the impact of the game. But then he has the ability to make the plays necessary while he's doing it. You know, some guys get caught up in the moment and they can't play. But, you know, George has the ability to start stuff and then bang a three, you know. So I think those are the things that, you know, attracted us to him, and he's lived up to all those things.
Are you on board with the G-Wagon nickname?
I mean, he can be called whatever he wants to be called. He likes it. I love it.
Joe.
Thank you.
Jared seems like he's just been in a little bit of a funk lately. What can you do to get him going?
I mean, the fouls obviously have impacted him. I think he's gotten in foul trouble early, which, you know, makes it difficult because he's had to go and sit long stretches. But we just got to find him in his spots. Like, we know how dangerous he can be when he gets the ball in his spot, how effective he is from the floor when he catches the ball in his spot. You know, so we just got to make sure we continue to get him the ball there, and then just, you know, find some of those effort plays and talk to him about just continuing to work hard through all that. Because when he dominates the interior, both ends of the floor, like, we're a different team. So it's not always about a bucket or a point scored, but, you know, it's how we celebrate, you know, his ability to dominate the painted area.
Well, the preparation for Jaylen, Jayson is seeing different coverages and trying to recognize them. As a defensive coach going against those guys, how do you try to mix up the coverages that you send against those guys to keep them off balance?
Well, I mean, you got to pick your poison, so to speak, and you got to figure out what you're willing to live with. And obviously, those guys are so dynamic and capable of doing so many things offensively. You know, you have to make the decision on what you're willing to live with. And obviously, I don't want to share that with you tonight, but you know, and then, you know, go to their strengths, watch as much film as you can, and try to limit the opportunities that they're in a position of strength. And try to put them in a position of weakness, but understanding also that this is not just a one-man job. No matter who is defending him on ball, the other four guys around him have to be protecting them. And again, our, you know, defense is built from a team standpoint, and we're always trying to put five guys versus the individual or the action.
How much do you adjust in game with that?
I mean, it depends on how it's going. Obviously, like, you know, we have different coverages that we can go to, different defensive schemes that we can go to that our guys have picked up pretty well. So you try to mix it up. You know, as elite as these guys are offensively, if you keep giving them the same look, eventually they're going to figure it out. So you just try to change it up throughout the game, whether it's coming out of a timeout or after a free throw, those types of things. Even if it's a 3-minute block where you just do something different just to keep them off balance if you can.
Tim.
As was just alluded to, Tatum and Brown have been the focus for so long. How does the addition of Porzingis change the dynamic with this team?
I mean, obviously the size and shot-making ability, and for them to be able to spread the floor the way that they can just opens up more opportunities for driving angles, and that's where you get caught up. Obviously, you know, this team shoots a ton of threes, but, you know, you still have to understand that, you know, the job can be done both on the interior and challenging and contesting those three-point shots. So if you just run out to space because you're worried about your man shooting a three, these guys are elite one-on-one offensive players. You know, they're going to find their way to their shot. So making sure you're protecting your teammate first and then working your way out to the perimeter. But he's another guy who adds that advantage because not only is he, you know, a spacer, but he's tall. And so you have to get even closer to him to contest and challenge or even bother that shot.
JB, the schedule is what it is, but in a situation like tonight, is it more of a mental challenge? Is it a physical challenge to have a back-to-back like tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it's a combination of both, but it's the NBA. You know, we're here for a reason. The guys are here because they're capable of doing difficult things, right? You don't become one of 450 people on the planet the easy way. Right, everything that these guys have had to do has been the hard way. So, you know, you don't find your way through a competition of millions of basketball players whittled down to 450 if you're not capable of doing hard things.
Last one, Chris.
JB, going back to George, there was a moment in last night's game where he was talking with Jaylen Suggs, and it seemed to kind of get Jaylen going a little bit. Like, do you worry as a coach that even though George can ignite himself and his teammates, he might ignite the other team too?
No, I don't worry about that at all, right? It's this competition. These dudes are really good players on both sides of the floor. You know, if it takes a confrontation to get a guy going, You know, I mean, like, those guys typically, you know, don't survive. And I'm not saying that, you know, that's what Jaylen needs. He's a good player. Like, these guys motivate themselves. It's not a word from somebody that's going to get them going. These guys are motivated and they're good players. So I don't worry about George's edge, you know, and the trash talk and all that stuff, because I know he's going to back it up.
It's the wrap for Coach. Thanks, everybody.